Wait for Jeff and everybody to come wandering back. I appreciate it. I hate that we lost the first 20 minutes of that, but we'll try to make up for it with a good solid 20 minutes. And hopefully there's our guest. Appreciate you coming back, Jeff. And internet happens. We had an internet happening. There he's back. I appreciate you hanging around. It's all right, man. Internet gremlins will do their thing.
I was wondering whether it was me or if it was you, because I was on Wi-Fi. So, I don't know.
Don't worry about it, man. It's going to happen. It's just part of the nature of the beast. But I like this format because we can get questions. We can take questions from the people that come by and listen if we want. You got a little thing, and you don't have to kill yourself to build an audience. It's a lot more user-friendly. It works. So where were we? We were talking about the non-scale victory. You gotten on the airplane. You were able to get on, and use the seat belt, and it wasn't a problem. And you were talking about how your wife used to go out and scope out places you were going to eat to make sure that you all could sit there.
Yeah, exactly. There was another guy and we were both pretty large, and we would always either make reservations to make sure we didn't have a booth, or if we happened to go on, a whim to go somewhere, his girlfriend and my wife would go in ahead of us to make sure that we could get a booth. Or not a booth, but a table with chairs.
Right.
And me, 500 pounds, whatever, I always wanted to sit in the smallest area of the restaurant possible because I wanted to be in and out of the way. I just couldn't handle being out there where people were going to run into me, or I'm blocking the traffic of people walking by.
What has to be quite liberating now that you're no longer having to do that. How since you in a year of Carnivore, you've undergone, what other transformations have you undergone that you could think of?
I don't know. I can't think of any, but that doesn't mean anything. My wife was commenting yesterday. She's like, "Do you think that you've lost enough weight yet?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not losing any more weight right now." She's like, "Well, you're still getting smaller." Okay.
Body recomposition.
I'm like, "Well, I can't help that. I'm not eating any more, any less. I've not changed anything other than I've not gone to the gym for the last 2 months. Mm-hmm. But still, I'm maintaining and or looking smaller."
Well, I would dare say, based on my experience and what I've learned in my 419 days of doing this, is that our body heals in stages. You were under a physical trauma, basically, with the weight and the type of food you were eating, et cetera, for most of your life. And so I can't imagine the healing that you're still experiencing, I would guess. I'm told it takes people between 3 and 5 years as a rule to fully get to want their true 100%. And this comes from carnivores who've been eating this way, 10 years or more.
Right.
Not from my personal knowledge. I'm only, I'm a little longer at it than you. Can you share with us, in outside of the weight thing, is there been any other improvement, positive impacts? Skin improvement. Is your skin, because you've got what I call the carnivore glow. You've been doing it long enough. Carnivore glow it's not tan, or it's just that look of a healthy, happy face.
Yeah, I would say my skin's probably better. And in fact, I've not been to the gym in long enough that all my calluses on my hands are gone. Well, that's kind of sad in a way, but my skin's fine. I mean, I have a little bit of dry skin, but it's not really that bad. I mean, I think that the skin on my stomach that's been stretched is kind of receding a little bit, which is great. I'm seeing things that I haven't seen since I was much younger. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
I can bend down and tie my shoe in the car facing the steering wheel.
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, I can pick things up off the floor in the car, same thing. There's lots of non-scale victories that I'm amazed. Every time my wife opens the console to the right of me in the car, I'm like, I can't believe this is not rubbing me. It just blows my mind every time.
I'm sure, because you were big for most of your life.
Yeah.
So this has been an ongoing battle, and now you're winning the battle. You've literally won the war. It looks like, and you're kicking butt. What's a day of eating look like for you in general? Now, you travel a lot. You're with your work and whatnot. I know that makes things a little different than what a lot of people experience. What's a day of eating on the road like for you?
I might order like two or three triple patty, Five Guys, and eat that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably the one meal I eat in a day, depending. I mean, if I go out with a client or something, I'll get a steak, something like that when I'm traveling. I'll have coffee with cream, that kind of thing during the day, but I don't eat. For me, right or wrong, fasting is I'm not eating. I may be ingesting calories through cream, fat, or whatever, but I'm not eating. So, I don't know. Not accurate as far as fasting, but I'm not eating. So, that's fasting to me.
Well, there's a lot of different ways that people describe fasting or whatnot, and I'm no more of an authority on it than the man in the moon. So,
yeah.
To me, fasting is denying yourself nutrition. It sounds to me, based on what you said, your OMOD, basically, you only eat once a day when you're hungry, or when you're hungry. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I'm pretty much OMAD, I would say.
Well, that's a perfect. See, I don't call that fasting because you're eating only when you're hungry, which is when we should eat. And if you're only hungry once a day, and and it appears you're satisfying all your nutritional needs quite well.
I guess it would seem.
Man, I try to. I listened to that. If you could tell one story from the past, I would love if you could tell a little bit more about the story for when you were in Israel. And your friends, your coworkers, you were going to go on a tavern crawl.
Oh, that was fun. That was another trip when I was there. So we decided we were going to go out and do a pub crawl, and it was a couple of guys that I'd only met once, maybe just then. But we went to a hostel, and we met up with a group of people, and we're going to do this pub crawl, and we paid whatever we paid, and it ended up being that an Israeli, when they say something's close, they're lying. I love these people. They're great, but man, close to an Israeli is far to an American. And far to an Israeli is close to an American because their country is so small. But for us, we'll drive 500 miles, 600 miles, not think too much of it. For them, that would be an eternity.
Of course.
But, doing a pub crawl, I stayed sober the whole time because, there was so much, I was just being taxed the whole time. I ended up taking a cab, so it was a pub cab for me in some cases because I just could not make it. I couldn't walk.
Too far.
Yeah.
And
Wouldn't
now
be the
look
case
at you.
today.
No, it sure wouldn't, would it? They'd be
But
having trouble keeping up with you, I expect.
Maybe, but I don't know. These days I wouldn't be drinking either. So, not that I drink a lot.
if you're at home, take us through a day of eating for you at home. I mean, one meal a day. When do you usually get hungry? Is it in the evenings? A lot of people don't get hungry in the afternoon.
I usually
all
eat
specific to the person.
I usually eat in the evening if I'm doing one meal a day. If I'm eating more than one meal a day, I'll eat at noon, and then I'll eat at like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
My one meal a day could be anywhere from a half a chicken to a pound of ground beef, a steak, whatever. I mean, I might take some ground beef and put some jalapeno cream cheese in it. It kind of satisfies my Mexican craving, right? Because I grew up in the Southwest. I kind of miss that flavor. You don't get it as much in Canada. It's just not the same.
I'm sure it's not. How do you look at food in general now versus how you looked at food before? When I say before Carnivore.
Yeah, I mean, I started looking at food as fuel at some point, even before going this way. Mm-hmm. But it's totally different now. I mean, I will look at some things that people may eat and I'm like, wow, you're just eating poison. I have a hard time making myself eat some of these things, and I look like I'm judging people. I'm really not. I'm trying not to. Maybe I am. I don't want people to feel judged. Eat whatever you want. Your way of eating is, for you, not me. It may or may not be wrong for you. I mean, who am I to say? I'm no MD. I can only tell somebody what my experience is.
That's so well said, and I appreciate that, and that's been my tack. I don't. What's on somebody else's plate is none of my business. I don't even know night to night. Honest to goodness, my wife sits beside me every night when we eat. She eats different stuff than I do. She just eats meat, but she eats different meats because that's what works for her. I couldn't tell you from night to night what she's eating. Because it's not on my plate, it's on her plate. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
So I look
at my wife's plate and she thinks I'm judging her. I'm just interested in seeing what she's eating. And I guess she feels bad because she knows she shouldn't be eating whatever she's eating. I don't know.
So based on that, she's not on the carnivore train. Is she low carb, keto? In any way, shape, or form?
She's, I don't know. I hate to say that she's Weight Watchers, but she's teetering between low carb and whatnot. She does eat more like me than not, but she will eat other things too. She needs to do what works for her, and whatever that is, fine. If she feels satisfied counting points or whatever, and she's making her goals, then good. As soon as that stops, you have to tweak whatever you're doing.
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to end up gaining it back, and nobody wants to go through that again. I weep for people because I did it. I lost a bunch of weight before I knew anything about carnivore. This was earlier 2000s, and then I gained. I thought I was on Atkins. And lost a bunch of weight before my 30-year class reunion. Went to the reunion, had a great time. And then I started wanting to eat ice cream and crap again. I'll gain it all back. No problem. I can just go back on Atkins. And but we're not here to tell my story. I just heard that, and it just reminded me that, oh, I can go back on. I can still be okay, and then all hell broke loose.
Yeah,
that's not really what happened.
Sometimes it will be okay, and then other times it won't. I guess it depends on how long you've walked that path that you're on, right? Because sometimes it's easier and sometimes it's not.
Well, I have a different set of concerns. I don't have to worry about going back and eating and gaining all the weight back. I have to worry. For me, sugar equals insanity.
Yeah, for you it's totally different. I mean, you eat some sugar or whatever, and you've lost your freaking mind for a week, right?
Yeah, inside of 5 minutes, my behavior can go from happy to hatefully obnoxious. We learned that from one mint we thought was safe to eat. One little tiny mint. And from the time of the register to the car, my behavior deteriorated. My wife looked at me, she said, "You're not being very nice right now, and I don't understand this." So what's the impact of all this been on your life in general? I mean, you're feeling better. You didn't have a mental illness that you needed to correct, but your thinking is very different.
Yeah.
As far as how you view food, what else about your thinking has changed as you've been on this health journey? I'm curious to know what you think about physicians in general after your gastric surgery and all of that.
I think some of them are very well-meaning, and they have been trained to do certain things, and well, they're not. They're practicing the standard of care, as we've heard, Tro and Brian and everybody say. But the standard of care obviously needs to change, and we don't have a gastric bypass deficiency, as I've heard some people say. We don't have a video game, surplus or whatever. It's not that. It's the music's not making you fat, so to speak, right? It's
exactly
the stuff you're eating while you're playing the music.
That's true. That's very well said, and so accurate in life. And one of the things that really impressed me about you was about listening to your story before was you didn't make excuses. You owned it all. And I think that's so important for everybody when they step out and they start trying they recognize my life is out of control. I'm not able to manage this anymore. And you seem to have that I can't do this anymore moment and have stayed steadfastly moving in the direction that to where you are right now.
Yeah.
This time. A lot of people can't even imagine it.
Yeah, this time. I had that moment twice or 3 times. Yeah, once, I don't know, one time I went to that Jenny Craig consultation. That was a big eye-opener. And then the other time was laying face down on the floor before the gastric bypass, right? So it's been a few times. I mean, a smoker will attempt to quit multiple times, right? So they say. I'm guessing that's the same for me with my dietary thing. Finally, I'm getting to that point where I'm not having that, too much of a backslide.
But you still have cravings for things that you probably, I'm curious, do you still have cravings for things?
Sometimes. Just really depends. I mean, so I miss that feeling of a sandwich.
Okay.
It's the feeling, right? That experience. But I'm happy eating the other things. I mean, you're doing more a keto style diet. You can make those chaffles or whatever and make something look like a sandwich, feel like a sandwich. I haven't really gone too far into doing that kind of thing. The only sandwich I've had in the last year has been that grilled cheese, as far as I can remember. So that was a lesson learned right there.
A poignant, painful lesson. I can't imagine.
Between the stupid pumpkin pie thingy, whatever I had the night before, and that, I was miserable. And
Oh
then
my
I was
goodness.
already so bad off anyway. I was like, okay, I'll have barbecue ribs that night. I knew I was in trouble anyway. So like, well, may as well. But at least it wasn't the week of depression that I experienced from eating birthday cake too much.
Oh yeah. I it's so important. I will share this with everybody. If you've been zero carb, carnivore, or low, really low carb keto for a long period of time, well, our bodies lose the resistance to a lot of those toxins from the various plants and other lab created foodstuffs we used to consume. I don't even like to call it food anymore. I mean, you look at a bowl of cereal, it was formed by a machine with a lab concoction. I mean, I don't even like to call it stuff food. My point is, we lose the tolerance, the defense mechanisms that our body had built up to withstand those things goes away. And then when we take that stuff into, we get to experience the full force of the negative reaction that our body has, that it fought to cover up for all those years beforehand. I mean, think about, out of ignorance, we put ourselves on this crazy cycle of consuming things that we shouldn't have. Our body builds up the tolerance. Then when we stop doing it, for many of us, I mean, I still remember, you talking about sandwiches. I used to make bologna sandwiches. I lived on that stuff through my teens and early 20s. But I had a ritual. I would press the bread together and then pull the crust around I had to go through that ritual before I ever ate it. I remember missing that ritual when I stopped eating that stuff. Do you have any of that? You miss the rituals, or you had some favorite?
Yeah, I think that's probably a lot of what it is. I miss the ritual of eating that thing.
So how do you combat that now? When you feel those cravings and whatnot, and this is danger.
I just think about the fact that if I go down that path, I'm not going to be feeling so great the next day.
That painful lesson was a big flag.
Yep.
That's awesome, though, that you can look back at that, because a lot of people, as I described earlier, they'll not plant that flag. That won't be the thing that, oh gosh, this is what I'm going to go through again. They'll play the game with themselves. Oh, well, maybe if I do it this way, it won't happen.
Yeah.
But you seem to have accepted the reality. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it as, well, if I'm going to do this, I know the consequences of it. If I do it anyway, well, that's me, accepting that cost.
Mm-hmm. I love that. You own it. No excuses. I appreciate that so much. And I encourage people to think about our own responsibility, because ultimately nobody puts anything in our pie hole that we don't accept. We're responsible for that every time. And you're taking responsibility, and I applaud that so much. I think that's so impressive. Okay, we got about 15 minutes left. Is there anything that you like to share, or you would like to share with everybody that you think they should know, that you've learned through this amazing journey you've been on?
No one is the same. I mean, there's no one journey that you can say, well, because you have X, Y, and Z, that you need to do low carb, you need to do plant-based diet, God forbid. You need to do whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to learn to figure out for yourself. Your life and your diet is an N equals 1, period. No matter what dietary path you take. I can't eat the same stuff that a pro bodybuilder eats. And he's not going to want to eat the same stuff I eat to get the results that he's getting. It's just not going to work.
It's always specific to the individual.
Yeah, you have to do what works for you. It's always an experiment.
I think that's a very good outlook. I applaud it. I have to fight myself. I think for most people, low carb, or carnivorous way, or at least a ketogenic way of eating is something all humans for the most part tend to thrive on. We've all got, there's geographic reasons why that might not be true. And I'm not going to get into that because that's outside of my experience. My point is it's always specific to the person. And I mean, I never imagined in my life that I would be 58 years old and only consuming meat and drinking water because, I had all that pounded into my head. You had similar things pounded into your head. How has breaking the programming been for you in that regard?
I don't know. Just for me, there was just a light switch that was flipped. It just made perfectly good sense. I was never much of a vegetable lover or anything. I mean, I liked broccoli as a kid. I don't mind asparagus, whatever. I mean, I'll eat these things if I'm forced to.
Mm-hmm.
After I had the gastric bypass, broccoli I couldn't eat, period. I couldn't eat it unless it was like nearly to the point of being able to be pureed. Just did not agree with my stomach. The pastas and all that stuff, I was trying to avoid those even before I went this direction because I just didn't feel well eating them. And I'm not even sure if I'm answering the question now.
You're doing fine. You're answering it. You're doing great, man. I wish I had like 2 hours and just because there was so much that I heard before, and they're just because you really how has just the last year improved, if it has improved, personal relationships? Have you noticed a difference in the last year and a half or so?
No.
Go ahead.
The challenge is honestly the dietary thing is a big problem. It's socially a problem. Like even like my wife is having a hard time with it. To be honest, she feels as though I've left her behind because I kept trudging on, right? Because I just felt like this is something that I can't stop doing, whether it be going low carb carnivore or just continuing to do whatever it is that I was doing when I was doing it. Because I have a real fear of going back to Jeff in 2001. I'm still running from that, and I'm trying not to stop.
I'd say you're succeeding at this point. Looks like it to me.
I think so. I mean, all I have now to do is to get to the point where I can have a doctor say, yep, you can have skin removal surgery, and then once that's over, it's done.
Have you ever experimented with homemade bone broth at all?
No, I haven't.
Look into it. You might find it helpful for you with the skin situation, especially if we've learned. My wife makes it, and she's done a lot of research into it. I haven't read it all, but according to her, the collagen is really a big deal as far as helping in the system with the excess skin.
Right.
So it's just something you might want to look into and research on your own if you haven't already. Because it's also very soothing. Oh my gosh, especially you're talking about anxiety. That's another thing. Because for me, I had anxiety for 5 more months after I started carnivore. It took 5 months before mine went away. But I found that bone broth was better than any Ativan had ever been for me. It was very soothing, very calming. So I just share that with you, just something you might want to try and see if it works for you. But make sure you get homemade. You learn how to make it yourself, because that way you can guarantee the integrity of the ingredients. because a lot of that store-bought bone broth has shelf life stuff in it that you don't want to consume.
Yep. I've looked at, like, wife's bought shredded cheese or whatever. I'm looking at it. Oh boy, this has got sawdust in it. No thanks.
You don't want that added fiber?
No, I don't need the cellulose.
Isn't that bizarre? That sawdust now is an acceptable thing for people to consume.
Yeah, I don't know. I just shred my own cheese.
Pretty much, my wife has come to the conclusion if she can't make it at home, she's not going to. If she's going to eat sausage, she's going to make it. That's the only way she can guarantee the integrity of the ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, her arthritis will flare, or she'll have a joint flare, I should say. She'll have a negative experience from it. A few minutes we got left, Chris. I called you. I've gotten this whole thing without calling you Chris, and I almost blew it right there at the end. You look like a gentleman that I used to work with, whose name was Chris Mullins. So help me, not a basketball player. I swear, and I literally sat here. His name is Jeff. His name is Jeff. It's not Chris. So I made it almost to the very end before it slipped out of my mouth. I apologize.
That's all right. Well, at least you're not calling me. What's the guy's name? Jason Newstead.
Oh. No, I'm not doing that. No. So, what is your ultimate health goal with where you're at now? I mean, you want to get the skin removed. I get that. Are you looking at this way of eating for the rest of your days? Are you looking at trying to gradually add things back at some point? What's your game plan from here looking forward?
I haven't really decided that, other than I'll just take it as it comes. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be going out willy-nilly carb loading so I can perform in the gym or to build muscle or whatever. I can't see myself doing that. How am I going to do that? It's going to hurt like hell.
Oh.
So there's no point. To me, that's counterproductive at that stage.
Beautiful.
My hope is to get to the point of actually doing a powerlifting tournament and competing, at least bench press and deadlift. After that, I'm just going to wait and see what happens.
I think that's outstanding. I think it's beautiful that you're doing it, because I think without goals, that is where humans tend to start drifting back to old habits. If we're not always striving to grow, aiming just a little higher than we were. So I applaud you on that. And I look forward to hearing about it. And I hope that your competition is live streamed in some way or another. If you ever get into that, I would love to see that. I think that's so incredible, because you're such a powerful story. I mean, 679 pounds, and now you're under 300. That's wow.
See, if I could just deadlift 680 pounds, that would be the end. That would be it for me.
That would be your Rocky moments, jumping up and down on the steps.
Exactly. I would not have to accomplish anything else as far as powerlifting were to go if I were to get the 679 or 680 pound pull. That would be it.
Well, we have seen people transform their bodies in amazing ways. I have. I'm sure you have as well along your journey. You're not outside your own amazing personal experience. So we know that there really is no limit to what we can do if we're willing to work for it.
Yeah.
So, and for you to endured what you endured, I think that once you set your mind to it, you're going to achieve that goal.
Yeah, I've just got to get my brain back to that again. Like I said, I've been out of the gym, so I'm getting to the point of having to go back again.
Well, that's good. I applaud that, and it sounds. I can't read. I know there was a good reason why you stopped going to the gym, and I've been racking my brain ever since because you mentioned it on Twitter once or twice that I recall.
There's a couple reasons. Well, the first time I stopped going to the gym is because I had to have my gallbladder removed.
Right, and you had surgery. I just couldn't remember for what.
Yeah, and then the stress got in the way of this 2 months ago or whatever. So I just I've not felt the need to go back. Normally, I would be just pushing to go. I would be losing my mind if I didn't go. But I've had some weird peace come over me for the last few months, and I've not gone. But the last time I went, before I stopped going recently, I did something to my shoulder, kind of tweaked it a little bit, and it had not been feeling very good. And finally, that's taken care of because I've laid off it long enough. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'll go sometime.
Do you feel like you're more in tune, you're better able to listen to what your body's telling you now than you could, say, a year ago?
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, I would. There's just sometimes I just know I'm not feeling whatever activity I just know.
And you don't go. You don't push it. You listen to your what your body's telling you.
Yeah, if the brain says no, the body will go where the brain tells it to go. So for whatever reason, my brain was not interested. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm not feeling bad about it. I have no issues. I'm not getting anxious. So
that's great. That's great.
I'll take this ride however long it takes. I was commenting to my wife, how long am I going to not go to the gym for? We both just kind of laughed because I would have never thought 6 months ago I would say that.
I can relate in that I got the gym membership in December, but due to weather and whatnot, it was like a month and a half before I could start going regularly. And then once I started going regularly, the weather would be the only thing that could screw me up. And like last week, we had that Hurricane Dorian, and it just wrecked because it wrecked work. It messed up my whole everything. So I was a week for the first time in 6 months of not going to the gym. And at first, it really bothered me. But today I went back, and I just felt fine. It was like I hadn't been gone at all. So I could relate to that. I want to work out. And not being able to can drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Jeff, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking and sharing. This is going to be, I'll let everybody know the last 40 minutes will be saved and up here on Instagram Live for the next 24 hours. And then I'll be uploading it to my YouTube channel where folks can come watch it. You can tell your friends about it. Because Jeff, you're just such an impressive person. Where can people find you on social media so that they could follow your journey as it continues?
Well, I'm on Twitter as Fatboy Beast Mode. I'm on Instagram as Fatboy Beast Mode as well. My Instagram is pretty stale, to be honest, because I'm not taking a bunch of pictures or anything. So you can follow me there if you want. I'm on and off Twitter a lot, depending on what's going on.
You're pretty active there.
Yeah, it really depends on what's going on. If I'm really busy with work, head down doing that kind of thing, I don't log in and comment too much. Sometimes I'm just trolling because I have nothing that I want to say.
I understand.
But, I mean, I'll engage with people if they engage with me.
Well, Jeff, keep doing what you're doing. Keep taking care of yourself. Best wishes and prayers for you and yours on your continued journey. Thanks so much for coming on today. I appreciate we had a lot of people in and out. They did get a chance to advertise it because we didn't know about what time you could make it. That's okay. People
Perfect.
Find it on YouTube.
I needed to be like that.
Well, it worked out beautifully. I thank you for your time. Peace be with you. My friends, Eat your meat, drink your water, do what you need to do to take care of you. Thanks for hanging out with us, and always remember, be thankful. Thanks again, Jeff. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Video. And you're going to give me a chance to